So, Murphy, what I'd really like to know is one area of philosophy that really grinds your gears.
I do have an issue with this thing that we do where we're very narrow. We subspecialize and we, at least in the Western tradition, only talk to other people in the Western tradition for the most part. And I think that's really deeply problematic if we think that what we're doing in philosophy is looking for the truth and trying to find out things like what is a just society and how do societies justly interact with one another and what is the best way to live.
Well, I note in your narrative there a real sense that has to be progress. I don't think we can take that for granted at all. I think the last thing we face today is progress. In fact, we have had a regression in terms of a clear violation of social rights, the idea that they have become unaffordable. Of political rights, we are faced with an extraordinary degeneration of the political.
So, Gonzo, there was a passage that you quoted from a book that I really liked, and I was wondering if you could read one or two lines for us.
Here's the passage that excited me. I'll read it out to you. I felt, as I say, a sensation of weariness and almost of terror at the thought that all this length of time had not only without interruption been lived, experienced, secreted by me, that it was my life, was in fact me, but also that I was compelled so long as I was alive to keep it attached to me, that it supported me, and that, perched on its giddy summit, I could not myself make a movement without displacing it. A feeling of vertigo seized me as I looked down beneath me, yet within me, as though from a height, which was my own height of many leagues, at the long series of the years.
Luna, can you tell me what time travel is?
When philosophers talk about time travel, we mean the sort of thing that people mean in science fiction. So at its heart, time travel is a discrepancy between time and time.
Buzby, can you explain the difference between practical authority and theoretical authority for us?
Sure. So let's take theoretical authority first. This is roughly being able to tell people what to believe, right? Or giving sort of people good reasons to believe a particular thing. So here's why you should believe that I know this thing, and there's different markers that we might have for that. So maths, I think this is Cambridge. I could be wrong, but one of the Oxbridge universities anyway has got this sort of notion of the senior wrangler, right? So the person who comes top in their honours cohort for maths, I think, and that's a kind of marker of theoretical authority, right? Well, look, I'm the senior wrangler of maths at Cambridge. Here's why you ought to believe what I say about maths. Right? Practical authority is still about giving people reasons for action. I mean, plausibly, that's what all authorities are about ultimately. But practical authority is much more focused on telling people what to do and why they should do what you say. So you have a reason to tell people what to do for some purpose.
So, Mrs. Fox, I was wondering, could you maybe explain to me what it means for a category to be socially constructed?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. I think that there's a kind of intuitive way of thinking about this, which is, so it seems, it's a fact about me that I'm a certain height, I'm 5'10". So it seems like I could have that property even in a world where I was the only person. But if you think about some of the other properties that I have, so I am a university lecturer. It seems like if it was just me all on my lonesome, I couldn't really be a university lecturer in the same sense, right? That depends on there being other people around me and on us doing things together that we might think of as engaging in social practices. There would have to be universities and people who wanted to be students and structures that make sense of that, where we act together in ways that make it the case that I am a university lecturer. And so the first one of those, the height, that seems like it's maybe a natural or a biological property of me. But it's not a natural or biological property of me that I'm a university lecturer. That's a social property. It's something that I have or that I am only in the context of my relationships with other people in a society. So that's the kind of rough idea of the distinction between a natural or biological property and a social property. Obviously, philosophers get excited about exactly how to draw that line.
So, Cappuccino, do you think there's a level of ambiguity in the wording and interpretation of laws?
Yes, I think that's absolutely right. And in fact, one of the most important areas in the philosophy of law, and in particular legal reasoning, has to do precisely with the philosophy of language. And the philosophy of language is very important, has made a huge impact in the philosophy of law. Because you're absolutely right, because when something is posited, whether it's an act of parliament or whether it's a judicial decision, it's couched in language, and there is going to be ambiguity.